G'day everyone, welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Now today is a big episode. We've got the catch up, we've got all the big entertainment news. You best believe we got your Florida man. We've got Taylor Swift, we've got Kanye West is going nuts. We've got Tom and Giselle are getting divorced. There's plenty to cover here. I'm telling you, it's going to be a great episode. And plenty of laughs along the way and a bit of footy news at the end. Who even knows? But without further ado, you got to do the 7 platforms. We got Spotify, we got Apple, we got YouTube, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, we got Facebook, and we've got TikTok. Like, share, comment, everything. Get as many people following this we want as possible because we want this thing to go to the moon. Yes, we also cover Elon Musk. But without further ado, I will introduce my partner in crime, that is Braden Cox. Welcome to the show.
Where on earth are you? I like to, this is, I catch up with Mason Cox like you guys catch up with Mason Cox. I never know where you are or what you're doing. You're always like, oh, give me a sec. I'm flying into here. I'm in the Uber. I'll be 2 minutes and then we can start the podcast. So I try to decipher where you are off the picture in the background, but I can't quite tell. It looks like some rocks or dirt or something. So are you in a place where there's rocks or dirt?
There's a lot of that. I'm in Mexico. I'm practicing my Spanish. Now, I had Spanish in like high school and it's really gone downhill, but I've really gotten a few different words back, you know, playa, which is la beach. I've been to the beach in Holbox, which is a place north of Cancun, about 2 hours, a remote island. Played some basketball, some of the local kids and stuff. Good fun. Just chilled out, really. Just one of those Balinese, kind of just catch the vibes, catch a bit of vitamin D, bit of the sun, jump in the water, catch back and forth between the little day bed you got there and just jumping into the ocean and back, and a real relaxation. I did the F1 out in Austin last week, which was awesome. And then came back over to Mexico, and then now I'm going to Houston next, then New York, and then I'm headed to Austin again. Then I'll be back in Dallas, and then from there I'll fly to Los Angeles, and I'll fly over to Australia again before I go back to the Northern Territory, do some charity work, and then I'll be back in Melbourne December 5th whenever my contract tells me I need to be. So that's my travel plans, Braden. So next podcast, I might be in one of those places. I'm not sure which.
That's pretty cool. I went to Moonee Ponds yesterday. Don't hear me bragging.
Well, speaking of ponds, I feel like Melbourne's just been one big pond as of the rest. Like since I left, essentially, this place has just been torrential downpour. You got the races on today; they're essentially getting canceled. The T20 is getting canceled. We're getting into all this in the podcast, but what is going on over there? It has just been an absolute thunderstorm since I left.
It's depressing. It's so depressing. It's the whole East Coast. I got a tweet saying that South Australia is going to have severe thunderstorms and hail. The whole place has just gone to shit. Give us a break. We just had 2 years of lockdown. Now La rocks up and just screws everything. Give us a break. My fingers were numb coming in here, going down. The cafes closed because the stupid Melbourne Cup's on and everyone's out there, you know, pretending to be happy even though they're getting rained on and it's cold and miserable and smushy, gross mud grossness. It's very depressing, and it's nice and refreshing seeing you with you don't tan, but I've been seeing your Instagrams playing basketball in the sun and you're on the beach. It's great. I love it. It's so good. It sounds so good.
I've got to ask this because, you know, we're a big fan of the small towns. How's Rochi doing? Is Rochi all right?
Rochi's gone, man. That's gone. That doesn't exist anymore. There's no Rochi. It goes Elmore, Echuca. Rochi's gone. R.I.P. Prayers up for Rochi. Echuca. I got, mates, the whole town's divided literally, not figuratively. Literally, they divided the town with they built like a sandbank, and there's one side of the town that just copped a big L, and their house is flooded, and they're done. And then there's the other side of the town that, you know, get to say dry because of this levee bank that they built. So yeah, shit's going down all across the place. It's just pouring rain. It won't stop. If it was just consistent, if it was just like rain all day, happy days. Inside on the couch. I mean, I've got work to do. But I'm not an AFL player. I don't just get to have freaking 10 weeks off a year. I got shit to do. But rain all day, be windy all day, be sunny all day. Just pick one, because I'm sick of, you know, optimism. Just crush it. Crush my optimism, because there's only one thing worse than there's having no faith or glimmer of hope. It's like having that and then it just gets pulled from you and having it and then pulled from you. I'm telling you what, it gets me fired up. And because of the stupid Melbourne Cup, for breakfast I had a sausage roll and a cup of Blend 42 or 43 or whatever number they're up to. The plain coffee that they give to workers so that they don't complain about not having caffeine in their system. That's my morning.
Mate, you sound like you're having what they call a ripper, an absolute ripper of a day.
It's a corker.
It sounds super depressing in Melbourne. It's a corker. It's a scorcher here in Mexico. But no, it sounds like you're having a rough one. So I apologize that your weather's not as good as up here.
One thing that I will say that does fix it is the kids can't come to my house and do that stupid trick-or-treating stuff that you do. I don't know what the deal is. It's somehow made its way across to here. I saw some kids sitting underneath a little cover out of the rain and hail and thunder, dressed up as Shrek and a fairy and a sailor or whatever the hell they were dressed up as. But it does keep them away from my door because I ain't got shit for them. But what's the deal with Halloween? Do they celebrate it in Mexico? What's going on in Mexico? I can't imagine there's a lot of houses with candy in Mexico, or like you want your kids roaming around. What's the deal in Mexico?
Mexico's not that bad. It is celebrated here. I actually was on the Uber from the airport, and I think I saw the whole Katy Perry, Shark Do people came along, and they're like, from the what you would call it, from the music video, and they were walking across. I assume they're celebrating it here in Mexico. But the big thing here is Dia de Muertos, which is like Day of the Dead. That's coming up in the next few days, where they kind of honor people that have passed away, which is a pretty cool experience in Mexico, one of the biggest days of the year. So that's why I'm in Mexico City at the moment. But
Mexico a safe place? Because in my head, they knock on the door, they get the little cocaína in a little package, some little the other candy, the adult candy. Here's a little cocaína. Is that not what Mexico's like?
Mexico has been fine. Mexico has been totally fine. I've been in kind of a bit of a touristy place, remote island that was Holbox. But now I'm in Mexico City. I've only been here for about 24 hours. So call me back again in 2 weeks' time. We'll be able to talk about how safe it was. But I've had family be here, and they've all raved about it. They said it's amazing.
They've all what about it?
I think I'll be okay.
They've all what about it?
No, they all said it's amazing. They said it was good.
Jeez. Okay. I thought you said the other R word. They've all what about it? Anyway, I'm leaving that in. We might get. I
don't know what the R word was.
We might get flagged. Maybe it was just a glitch in the audio. But So, are you going to go to the favela? Am I saying that correct in your El Español?
Favela.
I don't
know the favela.
It's the ghetto.
Festival.
The ghetto. The favela.
La favela.
Oh, sorry, I didn't say la, bro.
Speak Spanish, Brayden. No, I'm going to go. I'm next to the major parking stuff here. So I'll go for a run and whatnot, obviously do the footy stuff, and then go to some of the cemeteries and check out some of the Dia de Muertos stuff they have going on, which would be really cool. And then head up to Houston, LA, New York for the marathon. So if you haven't heard Dan Churchill's podcast, which is the last one that came out, I'm actually going up to watch him run the marathon, and I need help. I need help as far as a sign. So if you can think of a funny sign to give to a marathon person, if you go back and listen to the last episode, one of the best signs he said he saw was "Don't trust the fart," as he's running 42 kilometers. So I need something that's comedic relief like that. If anyone has any ideas, slip into the DMs, as I say. But hopefully I get to the marathon, have something funny for him, and then also a bit of a costume. Who knows? Maybe I'll dress up for it, but it should be good fun.
For a costume, is it offensive now to dress up as a Mexican? Like with the sombrero, the mustache, and is that offensive? Can we do that still, or is that no bueno?
I'm not 100% sure, Brayden, but I will use that as a launch into the next segment, because we are going to talk about whether or not it's appropriate for me to wear Yeezys. Yes, that is Yeezys, Kanye West's shoes. I'm not sure if this is appropriate anymore in life. We'll get into it. But before that, we'll get into the entertainment news, because there's plenty of stuff going on, but we're going to rebrand it. It's not going to be called entertainment news. It is the water cooler chat now.
Water cooler chat. So
without further ado, we're going to jump straight into it. You got to kick it off strong. And that, the strongest couple that ever was, Tom and Giselle, officially no more. Yes, it's true. They have admitted that they are getting a divorce. They haven't divorced yet. They're in the process, but it is going to happen, unfortunately. And the power couple for decades is officially breaking up. There's no hope for love anymore. We're done. We're done. Let's just get off the dating apps. There's no point. There's no point in love. There's no point. We're finished.
So,
all over it, Braden.
So last week, let me get this straight. So last week, everyone was saying that they were going to get divorced. Now they've announced it officially. Tom put out a press release, which imagine getting divorced already sucks. And imagine that you have to put out a press release to say, yeah, world, yeah, the entire world, we are getting divorced, which is, it's crazy. But saying that, do you reckon, at least from Tom's side of things, there's a bit of regret. They're not doing too well, the old Bucks.
The Bucks are struggling too, man. His life's not going well at the moment. You're going from Super Bowl champ, everything going well, like on a high. He's like, you know what? I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire. Oh, wait, nope. I'm coming back. We're going to win another one.
Year.
And then,
one more year.
One more year. One more. And then it doesn't go as well as he probably hoped from the start. So I hope they can turn around. I'm not sure if they can. But Tom has got quite a few things going on in his life right now that you feel for him. But on the other side of things, right, Giselle, now single.
Are we actually going to sit here?
Just saying.
Are we going to sit here and say we feel sorry for Tom Brady? I feel like in his lowest depths of life, it would still shit on mine. it's Tom Brady.
Shit on all of ours. It would shit on all of ours, man. You can combine all of our life experiences together. Tom would just sit there just laughing at us from the top of his chair.
Yeah, Tom Brady, having a bad week. He probably only made, like $10 million, got a few more endorsements. He's playing in the NFL as a starting quarterback. Shit life, really. It would suck. I mean,
imagine Tom Brady becoming one of the Hinge ambassador or something like that, just dating app ambassador after divorce.
I'm sure, Tom having a terrible week. He's probably struggling. There would be 0 offers from women. There would be nothing lined up at his door. Poor bro. I don't know. Hey, I'm pretty selfless. I'm going to dive on this one. I'll say I'll swap lives with him. There you go, Tom. I'll swap lives with you. I'll cop your terrible life at the moment, and you can swap and come down to Melbourne and make sure you bring a bloody raincoat and a boat because you're going to need it.
And a snorkel if you're going north to the hometown. Oh no!
But what else? What else have you got for us? I'm sick of Tom. I'm sick of him.
Sick of Tom. Well, let's go to more positive news. Now, Taylor Swift, some big news. All the Swiftie fans out there. My brother is a massive Swiftie fan for no reason whatsoever. He literally knows every single word to every song she's ever sang. And big news, she's come out with a new album. And she is now, I think, broken the record, the first person to ever have the top 10 spots on the Billboard charts. All Taylor Swift. Can you imagine that? Like literally the top 10 songs in the world. Yeah, all one person. That is a banger album. You can't say she is not just one of the most influential people in the world right now.
It does work a little bit different though, because it's like more like the Spotify, time where
streaming, like
the album drops, so everyone is listening through the entire album in one go. So like that's how the numbers get up. They mightn't think, track 8 is a banger. Don't come at me, Swifties. I don't know what track 8 is. But
they will come hard.
But yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, I went on the Australian top 50 or whatever on Spotify, and it was like, 13 of the top 15 as well. So like she's got depth, and so I don't know. She goes all right. And she does have catchy songs. Another artist that I don't think anyone would want to say that they know all the words to their songs, but they do is Nickelback.
James Blunt?
No, Nickelback.
Oh, sorry.
Which is like everyone hates Nickelback, but it's like, look at this photograph.
Yes. Every time it makes me laugh.
Everyone hates Nickelback, but I don't. Every time, like everyone says, like sling shit at Nickelback. And then you'll just be driving, a Nickelback song will come on, and it'll be, you just start singing along, and you're like, how do I how do I know all the lyrics?
Why
to
do
this
I
song?
know this? Why do I know this?
Where the hell did this come from? I reckon I know about 10 of their songs line for line. Like, it's insane. So
Would you go to a Nickelback concert if they came back? I don't know if they're even performing anymore.
I wouldn't go to the
I reckon
concert.
they should come to that like a 90s rewind concert, you know? Just
Yeah.
all of a sudden, and guest appearance, Nickelback. Let's go.
There was that viral video from back in the day of like they're up on stage and people were throwing rocks at them. And then the lead singer's like, if you throw one more rock, and then a rock like drills him in the head. And he's like, that's it. I'm out of here. It's like so like
I haven't seen that.
I don't know why people hate them, because that was like, oh yeah, like Nickelback's this, you know, they're being created by a recording studio. They're fake. They're not what like rock stands for or whatever like bullshit it was. But it's like, yeah, but at the same time, like every hip hop artist doesn't write their own stuff. They don't produce their own beats. Like no one does. In this day and age, no one produces their own like real music. Like that's when we end up calling people like, oh, the genius and all of that stuff. Which, speaking of musical geniuses, we've got another one coming up. What's Kanye West been up to lately?
He's been up to a little bit, Braden. He's been a bit active, we could say.
Busy?
He's been busy. There's no doubt about that. From his White Lives Matter shirt at a Paris fashion show to essentially him being escorted out by Skechers. Yes, Skechers, because now Adidas, or Adidas as I like to say, has essentially cut ties with him and Yeezy brand. So Skechers, he went to their head office and they literally escorted him out of Skechers. Can you imagine Skechers? They're going, are we cool? Like, are we cool now? Like, that Ye wants to come to Skechers? Are we like a thing? Does he think we're like fashionable? Like, we are literally marketing to 70 and 80-year-old men and women. And all of a sudden, literally, like, Kanye West walks in the door and we have to escort him out because we think it's a joke at this point.
I think you've got clout as well off the back of that. So you're like, oh, we're too good for Kanye. Like, get out of here.
That's it.
Kick rocks, buddy. We're Skechers. We don't just collaborate with anyone.
Oh, they would be chuffed. Let's just say that. They would be chuffed. But yeah, he said some inappropriate things in the news. I think a lot of people would be aware of the anti-Semitic stuff that he said. Obviously not a fan of it. Obviously don't agree with it. But he did lose $2 billion in a day is what he said. $2 billion in a day. Can you imagine that? Because essentially everyone cut ties with him. You got like Vogue, his music label, Def Jam separated with him, Gap, Balenciaga, I think is how you say it. Obviously,
Balenciaga. Come on, what are you doing?
His lawyer also cut ties with him, but he just went to these crazy things, and like he's done some crazy things in the past. We all know he's harassed Kim and Pete Davidson. You know, he's made comments like slavery was a choice, and the crazy. What blows my mind is I always think back to like, okay, the last 4 years where he's really kind of lost his marbles a bit. And I'm like, this dude was like literally in the Oval Office like within like 4 or 5 years ago, hanging out with the president. And I'm going like, now he's saying these things. Like, how insane is our world we live in now? This just doesn't make sense whatsoever.
There's a lot to digest here because you said, for starters, could I imagine losing $2 billion? I couldn't imagine having, you know, $50,000. So like losing $2 billion would be a fair stretch. And then, yeah, well, he was in the Oval Office, but, you know, the president was Donald Trump. So it's crazier things have happened. And then talking about crazy and losing your marbles and all of that, that's the touchy point in all of this, because as the world knows, like Kanye West has like his own mental issues, and he takes medication, and sometimes he doesn't take medication, but it said that he's bipolar. So as the world knows that you got this bipolar person out there, but you're also like, people are egging him on, pushing him further, then he's saying this stuff, and then they write articles and base stuff off that. There's a bit of like, you have to be held to account for your actions and what you're saying and what you're doing. But at the same time, there's some like level of obligation to like media and like people out in the public sphere to like not egg him on or things like that. Like it's a real weird like position. Like if there was any other like bipolar person out there and you're like, this crazy bipolar guy, like he's saying this and that, and it's like he's not on his medication and he's gone crazy, like people would be more concerned. But like because it's Kanye and like everyone's kind of fostered this, you're a genius, man, and like it's all part of his genius, and like it's this real, like I don't know where I sit with it, because it's like, yeah, he's said and done all of this like terrible stuff that you can't condone. At the same time, like people can't be egging him on.
You can't stop people from egging him on is the problem. But I think you remember like back as a kid, I don't know, I feel like whenever someone kind of went off the rails, they just went to rehab for like 6 months and then came back out and everyone was like, oh, they went to rehab and like now they're better. Like Kanye's like, where is Kanye's, I don't know, his agent, whoever it is that's giving him advice in life? Like maybe he's just got to the point where he's lost those close people that kind of direct him in that sense. And obviously his mom was definitely one of them. But you kind of think, like, who is his right-hand man that's saying, look, man, like pull your head in. Like we all need one of those. We all need one of those. And like he's definitely gone, too far one way. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But it's going to be an interesting, I don't know, it's going to be an interesting fallout from his standpoint. And I just want to know, like, I've got a pair of Yeezys. Is it actually appropriate to even wear them anymore? Like, in what world? Like, I feel like now I just have to throw those things out. They're expensive, not cheap.
It's a good point, because it's like maybe a pre and post. So it's like, did you buy them before he said bad things, or did you purchase them after? You can't be buying them after. But if you had them before, I don't know.
It's an interesting one. They're very comfortable shoes, I will say. I'm not sitting there. I can't really say too much, then it sounds like I'm supporting this crazy human. But I don't know. I'm sure he had some nice people around him that were able to make the shoes, not really him.
Let me pose you another question. Can you or do you listen to Michael Jackson's music?
Now we're getting into the depths. I do listen to Michael Jackson's music. I know this kind of came up. I remember this in the media too, but I do not often. I'm not like I don't know. This is me digging my own hole, Braden shit. I do listen to it. I still listen to Kanye West's like old school music before he went crazy. Of like the Dropout album was insane. One of the best albums to ever be written, I think. But I think because of that, it's kind of crazy. It's like, because he had that fame early and everything else is kind of what we're seeing now is almost a side effect of fame to another level that none of us can really understand because none of us have really been there. He's probably one of the only people in the world that's really been through the same circumstances and become this, person that he is through his life experiences. So, I think the big thing is I know the biggest question in the media is, do you separate the person from the art? And that's like the big question mark I think a lot of people are having. Like, can you separate the person that might be a little bit nuts or done something crazy or terrible in their past from the art they created that is everlasting? Like, I'm not really sure where I fall on that because I don't know what the right answer is, to be honest.
I get it. So it's like, can you look the other way? R. Kelly, all the stuff that he did with children, but Ignition, it's kind of a banger, So
I don't think you should probably say those two things together, banger and ignition. I'm just stay clear of the word banger, Brandon, whenever you talk about these kind of items, all right?
Hey, I'm just agreeing with what you said. You can definitely look the other way. You have no morals. That's great. That's cool. It's good that that's the way that you've justified it in your own head. That's fine. That's
that's very kind of you. Well, talking about no morals, no ethics, and being able to speak your mind. Let's get to Elon Musk. This week has bought Twitter. He is the essentially king of Twitter.
He's the chief twit,
the man.
That's what he calls himself. He's the chief Twitter.
Bio, yeah,
chief twit.
It's quite clever. It's quite funny. But no, in all honesty, he has, taken over Twitter. He's looked to, sack a whole bunch of people on there. He's already sacked a bunch of board members. And he's really just gone, crazy with this. And I don't know if it's good or bad or ugly or kind of where we sit on this whole thing right now. I'll be interested to know your kind of aspect on it and whether you think it is going to be a positive or a negative for someone of profile getting something that big that is such a social media platform where news and everything is shared so much from it. Like, what do you think? Do you think it's, it's good for the platform to maybe have someone who's not, just a typical boardroom kind of person who's got an MBA and has done X, Y, Z and created these companies, wherever it is, or someone who's been out there and just a bit of an outcast?
I think, and this is off the top of the dome, he's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's essentially a 2022 version of Rupert Murdoch. These like super rich guys that have control over a platform that connects directly to people and passes on information, good, bad, or indifferent. So it's like Rupert Murdoch obviously owns half the world's newspapers, channels, everything, and can just tell people what to think and feel. And that's incredibly dangerous for a guy that has that much money. Is it much different to this situation with Elon? Like, he can communicate directly to people. He gets to dictate what news can and can't be seen by people. It's kind of just another rich guy with a massive platform to spread whatever information that he sees fit. So is it
no doubt. And you think about even back to like whenever he did the crypto thing, whenever like Dogecoin, whatever it was, and he like tweets one thing and it just goes nuts and he makes a bunch of money off it. It's like now he owns that platform that essentially created that spike. So can he now just essentially manipulate markets like that? Like, there's so many little things. And it's like, do we need to involve the government whenever it becomes, or maybe some kind of regulation, wherever it is, whenever it comes to social media sites, or whether it be, people that share news or news platforms that, have the ability and the audience that Twitter has, which is worldwide. Like, do we need to involve some kind of restriction and regulation around it? Or is this essentially a free speech platform?
I feel like it uses those vessels as a way to kind of sneak past all the regulation. So things like, free speech is back and it's alive and well, and like parading around saying that I did this so you can have like your freedom of speech back and stuff. But it's like, I feel like that's the PR side of things, like putting that out there, like you're doing it for that reason. But really it's the stuff that, like you said, it's like market manipulation and things like that he would see massive value in. Because you wouldn't be spending tens of billions of dollars on a company not knowing how you're going to use it to make that money back and make it back quickly for you and your investors.
I will say this, though. I love the way that Elon pushes the status quo of what's acceptable, what's not. Like, not many people would say, I'm just going to all of a sudden buy Twitter, which is one of the biggest companies in the world at the moment. Like, that doesn't exist, whether it be, I'm going to put people on Mars and try to, populate Mars and things like that. I think there's people that you need to have break the mold of what's possible. And those are the people that really kind of push civilization forward. And he's done that. But also it's kind of goes to the point, you get to a certain part where you go, has he pushed a little bit too far in the wrong direction? Or maybe he's pushed something that he shouldn't have pushed. And I think this Twitter thing, I don't think it's going to be great for him. I just can't see this being a positive PR, adventure for him. I think it's going to turn just upside down, and Twitter will go back to being owned by someone else. Someone will buy it out from him, wherever it is. But I think he's putting himself in front of a fire he's not really prepared for, I think.
This week we have an absolute R. Kelly banger for a Florida man. I was trying to hype it up. You said hype it up. Anyway, we've got a Florida.
Don't say bang and R. Kelly probably the same.
Okay, so
this is making the pod, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a Florida teen this week. And what did he do? Well, he won a competition by capturing 28, not 20, not 10, not 5, not 25, 28 Burmese pythons. Now you're asking, how did he do this? What's this all about? What's this? Competition? What? Tell me more. Well, I will. 19-year-old South Florida man captured 28 Burmese pythons during a 10-day competition, capping a couple a day. It was created to increase awareness about the threats of invasive snakes and what they can do to the ecosystem over there in Florida. He won $10,000 for catching the most snakes. But what about the longest snake? Well, that went to Dustin Crum. Dusty Crum. Dusty Crum?
That's his name. Yeah, respect it. He got it. How big was his snake, Dusty Crumb?
Dusty Crumb pulled in an absolute whopper. He got $1,500 for catching an 11-foot python. That's a big fella.
11-footer.
He says he just roams around in the glades in the swamp with a torch and just catches them as they're moving from A to B. That just sounds dumb as shit.
Dustin Crumb on the hunt for the biggest python.
Oh, Dusty Crumb. This is I'm still stuck on that name. All right, moving on to the next one. This one's interesting. US woman unleashes thousands of bees on police officers to protest an eviction. So she wasn't being evicted. It was someone else in a different county. This lady drove 20 miles to another county because there was a group of people protesting this eviction. Now, I don't want to get down into that because that's not the story. Who knows? Who cares about who was getting evicted for what? Anyway, this lady rocks up. Deputies from the Sheriff's Department in Hampton County, Massachusetts. That's how you say it?
Spot on.
Massachusetts.
That's it. Smart.
Massachusetts. They were going there to serve an eviction order. But here comes Rory Susan Woods, 55-year-old resident of Hadley, Hampden County. Now, that's 20 miles down the road. She drove up with a trailer full of beehives, like stacked. And when she gets there, she jumps out and she's wearing full kit. She's ready to rock, like some kind of like evil villain. She got like maybe a vigilante. Maybe she's the good person. I don't know. But she's wearing the full beekeeper outfit and she gets out and she's like, attack! And like starts ripping the lids off these beehives. And there's pictures of this. So it's great. We'll put them on the Instagram.
Oh my God.
So she's ripping lids off and she's like, get them! And then like thousands of bees start attacking the police officers. And like she keeps trying to like knock over the beehives and they're like half arresting her and stuff.
She's essentially used a deadly weapon that is bees, given herself a Ned Kelly outfit to protect herself from the bees coming and attacking her, and used him against the police from a conviction. That is insane to think that someone goes through their head. It's like, she's going to be a beekeeper, surely. And like, technically, could
not
you just
Shirley,
say
her name's Rosie.
happened to just stumble over? Oh, sorry. Oh, good one. Dad jokes, right? Ladies, he is single.
Are you a big NASCAR fan?
You best believe it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is one of my favorites, brother.
Have you legitimately been to like NASCAR, like an event?
No, I've never been to a NASCAR race. Texas Motor Speedway was around the corner from my house, and believe me, the people that went to those was unique to say the least. They were what you would call a bogan in Australia or a redneck in America. So,
but bare minimum, you would obviously know who Ross Chastain is, right?
Oh, of course. One of the best. One of the greatest.
Old Rossi.
He's been in the news this week.
He has been in the news this week. He pulled off an incredible move. It was like something out of a video game, but kind of literally. So he was sitting in 11th. Everyone that he was racing against slows down to take the last turn before going across the finish line. Everyone except for Ross. Ross is humming down the back straight in 5th, keeps it in 5th, foot flat to the floor, goes up to the wall that surrounds the track, grinds around the wall and kind of like slingshots around the last corner, passes 6 in front of him and finishes in 5th. So he's gone from 11th to 5th on the last corner. He was interviewed after the race, and this is where he said he got his idea from.
Played a lot of NASCAR 2005 on the GameCube with Chad growing up, and you could get away with it. And I never knew if it would actually work. And I did that when I was 8 years old, and I grabbed 5th gear. I asked off of 2 on the last lap if we needed it, and we did. I couldn't tell who was leading, and I just made the choice. I grabbed 5th gear down the back and full committed. Once I got against the wall, I basically let go of the wheel and just hoped I didn't catch the turn 4 access gate or something crazy, but I was willing to do it. And
so straight from the GameCube. He played GameCube, NASCAR on the GameCube as a kid, and it worked when he played. back in the day, and it worked in real life. So
what an insane human. Can you imagine being his pit crew? And he's just wrecked the car, absolutely totaled the car, just literally slingshotting himself with centripetal force around the back turn in the last turn. If you went from 11th to that to what, 5th? Man, that's a fair amount of like difference. That's actually, I mean, the payday between that might actually, pay for the car that he absolutely totaled. But I just love the fact that he admitted, like, he had no clue. He just winged it. He was like, you know what? Done this on a GameCube. I'm going to trust some game developers out there that this actually works in real life. And he just absolutely full gun hose it into the freaking corner and just slingshots him up. And he like gets behind this other guy and goes over. It was like perfect timing too. It was a phenomenal move. Credit to him where credit's due. And it takes some guts, some absolute guts to do that. Because you imagine if he just clips something and he goes straight into 4 other cars and you just go, oh, wait, awesome. You just made seriously a whole pile up wreck just because you wanted to slingshot into 5th, you prick.
Yeah, that would be the freakiest part. Like if there's a little bit of anything like sticking out, like a little rail or a safety guard or an exit, like he hits that and probably just launches into the stratosphere, and it's game over for Ross. But yeah, it was nuts. Like to just call ahead, well, not call ahead. You don't phone them, but over your comms to say, hey, do we need this? And they're like, yeah, buddy, like 11th is shit. And he's like, all right, I'm going full send. I don't even know if they knew what his thoughts were, what his plan was. I can't imagine that your team's like, yeah, buddy, keep it in 5th, flat to the floor, and just grind the rail until you hit the line. Like, oh, it's pretty insane, but it was sick to see. It was like something straight out of Talladega Nights. Like, something straight out of a movie. And
not first or last.
Yeah, exactly. Moving into the footy chat. There's been a lot of touchy subjects popping up lately, a lot of investigations into very significant issues across the board in the AFL. But there is one that jumps to mind, and it's around concussion and concussion protocols. And we've spoken about concussion a lot on this podcast because a teammate that you have, I don't know if you know him, Jack Ginnivan, had been tackled a lot high this year. So there was some concern there. Now, we know that the AFL launched a multi-million-dollar study back in 2014 that promised groundbreaking findings in the area of long-term effects of concussion and CTE and things like that. And now, fast forward to 2022, and haven't heard a lot from that investigation. Haven't heard a lot, and the study finished a couple of years ago. The findings from it's a little murky. Maybe didn't do the best job. At the end of the day, we want player safety paramount, number one. So, have you looked into any of these findings? Have you seen the outcome of the investigation into the original study? Like, what's going on?
It's unique and it's embarrassing is probably the word. I think that the AFL would probably agree on. They're not wanting this to be a media thing because they know concussion's a major kind of focal point in the game at the moment, and it's going to be in the future. And there's going to be a lot of questions around it, given the fact there's a lot more research going into it. And I remember in 2014 I came here, and that was my first year, and I remember they're going, oh, we've got this groundbreaking thing we're doing, this research project to understand concussions and CTE and everything around it. We're going to involve past players and, hoopla, everyone applaud us. We're going to do this amazing thing. And then I kind of just never heard about it. I was like, what's going on? Like, what was kind of the fallout from this? What happened? Like, where do we get to? What kind of research did we get into? What did we find? Whatever it is. And, I read some up on it and said it found the research. This is the people who reviewed this whole thing. They said it found the research project was underfunded and under-resourced and suffered from a lack of governance, stewardship, and coordination in how it was rolled out and implemented and how it simultaneously accommodated clinical and research objectives. Now, if the reviews people are saying that about your groundbreaking experiments, that is not a good sign. I'm telling you, that is like I said, an embarrassment that the AFL has now had to front up in front of and say, we stuffed up. They've had to apologize to past players and say essentially, the review that they, were groundbreaking with is, was poorly put together and poorly constructed and nothing came from it. So you're starting to hear, I think, a lot of things in the media now from ex-players coming out saying that, they were asking what's going on with the information that I provided. Have we gone into this? And they were getting nothing back. And you can imagine, if you're an ex-player who's gone through this for a long time and maybe is suffering some kind of symptoms from, concussions that they had playing back in the day, and you want to be heard. And the AFL, said that they were going to give them a platform to be heard and to be understood and everything else, and then came back and essentially just told them, it just didn't work out. And they brought on a guy who's now, being accused of plagiarism, which is crazy enough. So it's a real quote unquote shit show, I would say, for the AFL at the moment with everything going on. And I think at the end of the day, you just really feel for those people that were promised, a bit of understanding of what's going on and, maybe where their future is going to lie with their mental health and their everything else that's going on in their life, have kind of been, disillusioned by the AFL to say that they're actually going to do something about it and be able to help them. So you feel for those people. Those are the people are really kind of, look at this whole thing and say, you know what, like those are the people we really feel sorry for. And, them and the families of people like Polly Farmer and Frawley and Shane Tuck and all them. And, they want to see a step forward in this whole experience and this whole process. And this week's been kind of a step backwards, I would say, in the whole process, unfortunately.
It could be really bad news for the AFL. And I know that that's not the primary objective of it. Like, the primary objective is player safety from now and forever. But at the same time, this could end in lawsuits and get tied up in legal findings. So I can see that it's tricky for them to be like, they're caught up in, okay, we want to find out the truth and bring in preventative measures. But at the same time, we don't want to be sued into the dirt and not exist anymore. The athletes will want to find out the results, find out the science behind it, and move forward quickly. But the AFL just won't be able to move at the speed, I don't think, that they'll want to move at. And it'll just be a frustrating and, tricky situation for both parties. It's just going to get messier and messier, I feel like, because it's just going to be one of the biggest topics in sport. We've talked about it for years, but it is the biggest topic in sport now. I'd like to get your take on this, because that's what I see in the AFL. They've brought in preventative measures. So you get the concussion, 2 weeks off, non-negotiable. There's a 2-action, a slinging motion in a tackle. You hit their head on the ground, that's weeks. You go the bump and you hit the head. It doesn't matter if that's an accident or not. That's weeks. But then there's spectacles in our game that everyone knows and loves, in particular the specky. So right now, as it stands, you can go up, take a specky, knee someone in the back of the skull. You could kill a person and take a mark. There's zero repercussion, zero fallback. Like, you could do some serious damage. In combat sports, you're not allowed to hit the back of the head, let alone, other sports. So you're allowed to knee someone in the back of the skull just to take a specky, because we don't want to take that aspect of our game away. But it'll come to a crossroads in the future where it'll be like, are we fully serious, or are we serious for most of the things, but we let other things through because we like that spectacular in our game? Where do you see it going?
I think over the years, the more we understand this, the less contact the game's going to be. We've seen it. We've seen it over the last 30 years. People used to essentially have punch-ons in the middle of games, and that doesn't happen anymore. And it's only going to keep going in that direction, I think. You talk about speckies are going to be a question mark. Obviously center bounces have become a focal point in the last few years, and things along those lines. And I think of myself, like, I'm a ruckman who wears a shin guard. It's like, if I stick that shin guard going full speed into the back of someone's head, like, they're going to hospital. There's no doubt about that. Like, they're for sure going to go to hospital. And like I said, it's not going to go away for the AFL anytime soon. It's going to be a talking point that's going to continue on. And unfortunately, that's something they're going to have to deal with. And it's not really unfortunate. It's something they should have to deal with, being a contact sport. And that's just part of the game of trying to understand what's going on. And the game's definitely going to change. I think it will change quite a bit in the future. And, we're seeing slowly things being implemented, like you said, through those, and through head high tackles and slinging and all that kind of stuff that was probably just ignored in previous years, that now are being a focal point because they know that it's leading to longer term health effects. And as a league, if you're understanding of that, that's a repercussion of something that is something you might be able to to prevent, then it's your duty of care to make sure that does happen. And that's why you have the MRO. That's why you have suspensions. That's why you have things to de-incentivize players from doing that. Otherwise, it'd just be a free-for-all. So I think they're heading in the right direction. Even with this concussion research and stuff, it was the right idea, terrible execution. And they'd be probably understanding of that, and they'd probably admit to that. But I think whenever it comes to CTEs, concussions, everything else, this is going to get more and more protective and more, a headline on a weekly and monthly and yearly basis for the AFL and contact sport in general, whether it be the NFL, AFL, basketball, whatever it is that, there is contact. This is going to be something that, maybe the league world need to come together and say, let's get the top doctors in every country to come together and try to really figure this out and see where we can minimize it and, make everyone better for it.
I feel like, it's going to land on a compromise of you can't stop all contact. We'll do as much as we can to implement preventative measures moving forward. And then you're just going to have to agree as an athlete in whatever league that, okay, I agree with the preventative measures and that the company, the league or whatever is trying to prevent CTE and concussion as much as possible. Then everything on top of that going forward, I understand that I'm putting myself in risk.
You talk about the differences in, the two-week concussion things, full support of that. I know some people might be up in arms about finals and missing finals and all that stuff. And it's like, it's all about player welfare in the long term, mental health, and, where you're going to be at from a health perspective once you finish football. Like, you've got a life to live after it. It doesn't end once your football career ends. And I think whenever you're a company like the AFL, you have to put your employees' health as a top priority. And that's their, that's what they have to do. That is their responsibility. And they're going to have to continually keep updating rules and regulations and doing things to be able to try to do that to the best of their ability. And as you said, as an athlete, you're going to have to sit there and say, do I think that they uphold a high moral standard whenever it comes to, head-to-eye contact or, things that are going to cause issues down the road?
There's always esports. No, it's a very good point you make.
I want to finish on something. I want to finish on a good note, on a positive note, a light note. And this week, I've been hanging out with a few Aussies in America, and they've told me some interesting things. They're like, how do you explain as an American in Australia back home in America, how do you explain some of the Australian slangs you've got? Give me a rundown of maybe where you think they came from, what they mean, etc. Right? I'm going to sling through these. Get a dog up ya.
I feel like with our stuff, it could be positive or negative. It's get a big dog up ya means stuff you. I don't know. That's my explanation. It's
okay. We got stuff you. Next one. Bloody oath, mate.
Means absolutely. Friend.
Absolutely, friend. Struth. Where does struth come from?
Well, struth almost means crikey.
Where does crikey come from? Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, pretty much. No, struth and crikey. It just means it's like an exclamation.
Okay. Stone the flaming crows.
That's like bloody hell. But bloody hell would be like, God damn it. And then you can't say God over there, can you? Just damn it. Let's just go with damn it.
Don't do that. Crack the shits.
That's self-explanatory. You're upset. I cracked the shits before when all the stores were closed and I had to have a bloody sausage roll for breakfast. A sausage roll and a coffee.
Where the origin of crack the shits comes from, though. Cold as a mother-in-law's kiss is one of my favorite ones.
Well, that just means it's cold, but it's more like through actions. Like, I wouldn't say the weather's as cold as a mother-in-law's kiss. I wouldn't say that. I'd say like something that's like, ice cold. Like someone's like heartless, colder than a mother-in-law's kiss.
All right. Now the last one, and this is the greatest one all because I still don't understand it. We're not here to fuck the spiders.
It's like we're not
here to fuck spiders.
We're here for a reason. We're not here to fuck spiders. We're here to do the job.
Where do you get that from?
I don't know what you guys do back in America.
Where in the world is someone just sitting there going, you know what? I think this is a good saying. We're not here to fuck spiders, mate.
Like, it's pretty hard to fuck a spider. I imagine it's not the easiest task, but that just means that you're there to do the job. And yeah, I don't know what you guys do in America. A bunch of spider fuckers over there. But we're not
Hey,
here
if
to.
there's one place to do it, it'd be Florida.
Yeah, true.
We will end there. It's been a lot. It's been heavy at times. It's been lighthearted at times. But unfortunately, Tom and Giselle have divorced or going to divorce. And Taylor Swift's at the top of the charts and Kanye's crazy. So nothing has changed, in all honesty. But we have had a bit of fun with it. The cooler chat, the Florida man, as always, is always one of the best. The man who caught, what was his name?
Dusty Crumb.
Dusty Crumb with the 11-foot python. There's been plenty we've covered here, but as always, I just want to say a massive thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It's been a great podcast. We got Spotify, Apple Music. We've got Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. Chuck us a follow, like, heart, comment, share it with your mates, everything else. We're trying to build this as much as possible. We got some great news coming up. I have yet to release. We have got some big news for the podcast. It is big news. And once that time comes around, I'm telling you, you're going to go, whoa. We're about to launch, absolutely launch, people.
When are you back? When are you back?
I get back November 20th, and I think I duck off to the Northern Territory to do some charity stuff up there. But I will be back December 5th because I have to fulfill my contractual agreements and be able to start training. So I will be back December 5th. In the same band as you. We will get back to it before then, but we might do a podcast on the 20th, just a little catch up with the off season. But like I said, follow us on all 7 platforms. Thanks again. Have an amazing week ahead of you, and go Pause.
I didn't see that.
I don't know why I said that, but I just figured why not.
Oh, I love it.